All right, well, welcome back to the IMSTED podcast. This is your EMED coach, Dr. Scott Wieters, coming to you with another hot episode of our podcast. We're taking things in a little bit of a different direction. We've always been an audio podcast just because I think that's such a fun and unique instructional mode to go into. Big fan of podcasts. We're moving today into a little bit more of the AV episode. And so I brought in an old friend of the show with us to come in and share some pearls that he's learned in some techniques that I think is really going to surprise a lot of you. And I think walking away from this, you're going to be like, I've got to do this. So today on the EMSTED podcast, we're bringing in a friend, Dr. Ben Smith. Dr. Ben Smith is the ultrasound director for the Emergency Medicine Residency Program in Chattanooga, Tennessee. He's also, I think, a self-described maker and fixer and engineer, hacker, coder. You might have known him from his website, Core Ultrasound or Ultrasound Jelly, which is his Twitter handle. But Ben's been doing some amazing work for a number of years. And so I'd like to welcome to the show, Dr. Ben Smith. Ben, thanks for coming on with us today.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Scott. I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, so Ben and I, we got to meet each other back, I don't know, it was like 10 years ago at the ACEP Teaching Fellowship in Dallas. So we spent a couple of weeks together, and you go to those things and there's just a few people that you really hit it off with. And Ben was one of those guys for me. And we've kind of watched each other's careers and spoken together and done some projects together. And so I just kept up with him through the years. And then, I kind of got back together with you at ACEP. So if you attended ACEP virtually this year, there were a lot of really good talks, but I tweeted this out because I still think hands down, my favorite talk of ACEP was Ben's talk. And so I thought it was vulnerable. I thought it was engaging. I thought it was real. It didn't seem like prescribed or awkward or forced. It was just like really from his heart. And the other thing that I think was done so well about it was the instructional methods that Ben used. The AV was crisp. It was amazing. His eye contact with the screen was like, how did he do this? And he used a lot of different techniques that we're going to learn about today. But Ben, why don't you tell us a little bit more about this talk and kind of your genesis and how this got to be going? And then we'll get more into the specifics of why I thought it was such a good talk.
Sure. Yeah, I actually, I have to say that I've long been interested in AV stuff. And so I've been like a sort of an amateur photographer for a while. And so I actually really relished when I heard there was going to be a virtual ACEP. I was like really excited about it. I was excited about setting up the AV, getting the lighting right, getting the video and the audio right. And I think that a basic understanding of lighting, audiovisual will really help either an educator or a student who potentially could be doing an interview over Zoom, which is what we're all doing this year. So
nice. Yeah, I think we're going to go through and give some examples of some good and bad AV techniques. You're probably going to look at my AV technique and be like, yeah, he tried. That was cute. But Ben's really going to show us how to make it polished, how to make it well done, and really add some pop into the AV into these virtual meetings and interviews you might be going through. So Ben, why don't you start us off with kind of some of those good and bad examples? Walk us through what's going on.
all right, so I thought I would actually start out with my worst case scenario right here is I have just a couple of things. So as you see, I started off with I'm using my laptop here. So I've got a MacBook Pro. It's about 3 years old, but they have these same cameras on just about every laptop, so it seems. And I have the laptop pretty well below my face, so it's looking kind of up at me. My head is framed way low in the shot. I do have pretty good lighting in here, but that's about all I've got going for me. You can see the ceiling, got some wires up here, and I'm using the mic on the laptop itself. And when I'm looking at your face, as you can see my video feed, it looks probably like I'm not even looking you in the eye. I'm looking down, right? Like it's just kind of it's not a position when you're talking to somebody that really develops any trust. You don't develop a rapport with somebody by looking down when you're talking to them.
Yeah, that's always been hard for me. I feel like that's the biggest obstacle is the Zoom interface is just, I think, illuminated so many things. And it illuminated the power of eye contact, which I think is so critical. Like you said, it doesn't build trust when you're down here looking at someone's face and things like that. And so the eye contact's hard. The other thing is this, I recognize like I have no emotional filter. Like if somebody surprises me in a meeting, I'll be like, you really said that. Oh my, he just really said that. I just can't do that. So it's caused me to be more just regulated. And so
Right.
those are
And that
interesting
comes
things.
across from an interview standpoint, that comes across as someone who is, like reserved and quiet, which, as we all know, at least in specialty that we're in, being quiet is one of the worst things you can say about a student. You want someone who's a go-getter. You want someone who's willing to go talk to patients and get a good history and let the nurses know what the appropriate care is for your patient. And so, it's one of those situations where you want to come across on this interview very well, and you have 15 minutes of fame with that interviewer, and you don't have much else. This interview, that's all you got. You've already hit the first batch. You've already hit the first cut, right? You already got your interview. You've gotten through the application review process. Now you've got to impress somebody with how you come across, and it just doesn't do well with what I've got here.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a couple more tips. So we've got, I told you, I'm kind of looking up at my face. So if you were going to sit with the laptop camera, it works fine, but I think positioning it, number one, up at eye level is number one thing. I think that would help out quite a bit. And
Okay.
so let me just see if I can bring it up just a little bit here. So that's a little bit better even right there. Also, my head's framed closer to the top of the frame, and that's gonna give me a whole lot better impression. I'm not like outside, almost off the frame. I'm right in the middle of the frame now.
Yeah, that looks a
I'm
lot
not.
better to me.
Yeah, just that one adjustment. So all it is just tilt my laptop here,
Mm-hmm.
and now you're not quite seeing the ceiling. You're not looking up at my nose, which I know I've got a big nose anyway. But if I get really close, I don't know, it's like a schnoz there. So like it's much worse the closer, because it's a wide angle lens and it distorts everything. So come back from the lens a little bit and bring the lens up to eye level. It's still even a little bit below eye level here, just because of the way I have this table here.
Gotcha. Yeah,
That's a
I got a cheap little razor on Amazon, a little stand-in desk that you can adjust, It's very cheap, like $20. And
that's great.
I
Or you
love it.
can
So I
grab
can
one of
stand
those.
up and now I can also raise up the computer if I need to a little bit. So
Yeah, that's nice, guy. I was going to say also you could, I don't know if you still get those PDRs in the mail. They're like the perfect size. Set two of those up underneath. That's pretty much all they're good for. Put
yeah,
two of those
yeah.
underneath your laptop, and then you'll have your camera. You want your camera to be right at eye level, straight
Okay.
across. And if you tilt this, the more you tilt this, the more distorted it makes your face. You want it to
Yeah.
be perpendicular. You want the screen to be parallel to your face.
Okay.
That'll
Gotcha.
be less distortion, and you don't want to be too close to it.
Okay.
Um, and I'm using the audio on the laptop right now. One really easy thing to do that's free is just to grab your earbuds that came with your phone and put those in. They have a microphone that's going to be right next to your mouth, and that's going to improve your audio quite a bit. The room is also almost as important as the microphone itself. I mean, you could spend $5,000 on a microphone, but if you have a really crummy room acoustically, it's gonna not shine. And
Gotcha.
so I mean, let me just show you what I've got over here. I've got a bunch of clothes over there, and that just happens to be a room that I have a bunch of kids' clothes in. But they're all hanging back there, and they're actually absorbing a lot of the sound. And so right now I'm using the mic in my laptop, but I don't have I don't have a very echoey room. You want to find a room that is pretty small. If it's carpeted, it's going to be better. It's going to absorb some of that reverb. If you had no video at all, the best thing to do would be to get in a closet with a bunch of like coats, or cover yourself with a blanket. Obviously you can't do that with video, but that would be the best acoustically. So this is a good compromise. I've got a decently non-distracting background. My head is framed correctly, and my audio is, if I put the earbuds on, it'd be a little better, but as good as I can get it in the situation.
Yeah, I actually did. When I pre-recorded my ASAP talk, I went into my closet and I set up a black, blanket behind me, hung it up
Yep.
between two of the racks, and then set up my AV thing and recorded it. And it sounded okay, looked okay. We'll see what
Yeah.
the people that watched it thought.
Yeah, that makes a big difference. The absorption of the second, echo bounce, that's what makes a big difference in the audio quality. Now, I will say, if you are going to spend a little bit of money, there's a couple things that you can buy. The first thing for audio is going to be a USB mic. You can buy a USB mic for about $100 or so, and it'll double the quality of your audio. of course, through these Zoom calls, the audio gets compressed and then decompressed. So it's not going to be perfect as if you recorded it on your computer and sent it to somebody, but it does improve it. And I think, you can tell there's a ton of Zoom calls on like all these interviews I watch on TV now. You could tell the people who actually have a nice mic versus using,
Yeah,
their laptops.
you
It's
can.
just, the laptop's very tinny sounding. It's just not the best. Doesn't come across the best.
Which
It's subtle
mics do
difference.
you recommend so we're using the earbuds. What do you recommend after that? Like next level, I want to kind of get into this, but not drop the bank.
Yeah, the next level is going to be Audio Technica has a mic. I think the one I have is called the AT2020. It's about
Mm-hmm.
$100, and it's a USB mic. Now, if you start to go in, if you want to get real super high end and get into like XLR and interfaces, that's really complicated. I've looked at that stuff, and it's like audio engineer quality stuff. But you can spend a lot of money on it and a lot of time wasted. I mean, I've like recorded like an hour of stuff and then realized I didn't have it like set up right. So the USB mics are simple. You just plug them in and then select the mic and zoom, and then you're
Yeah,
good
and
to go.
that's what we've been using. So I've got my it's like a Blue Yeti here
Yep.
with a little pop filter on there, and it's been doing me pretty good. And it's not terribly expensive. I think it was like maybe $50. I don't know.
Yeah, the Blue Yeti, that Yeti series is fantastic. They've got a couple ones. They even have one that's even more compact and a little more portable than that one's. That's more like a one of those 8 balls that tells you.
Snowball, I guess, whatever you call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the Snowball Ice Blue.
Yeah, I've got the AT2020. I'm going to switch over to the AT2020 audio and see if you can tell a difference on your end.
Okay.
All right, let's see. Can you feel like it's any better on your end of the Zoom call?
It is a little bit more crisp. The volume is lower, but that's okay.
Yeah.
You can adjust that always.
That's right. And I can get this mic closer to my mouth, and I can speak a little bit louder as well.
Mhm.
I'm not going to go into the settings right now, but there's an easy way on just about every laptop to increase the volume of your mic as it's being, exported through your Zoom call. So audio, I think that's a simple thing. Even just earbuds alone is a simple free step. But the next thing is going to be one of these Blue Yetis. This is an AT2020, which is Audio Technica mic, and I like it. I think it's pretty good. I think it gives a pretty good crisp audio, especially if you record the audio and end up, using it for a podcast or something like that.
What do you think about? I mean, people might not have the earbuds; they got the wire and stuff
Yeah,
hanging
I like
out.
the wire. The
Is
wire
it?
might even be better. I mean, because
Yeah.
it puts that mic right next to your mouth. With the earbuds,
But what about the user interface? Do you like interviewing somebody that's got these, that's wearing this? I mean, we understand these kind of things happen, but I mean, is it an upgrade? Is it a downgrade? Is it neutral?
that's a
What's your
tough
view
one.
on that?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. White complements my very, very super pale white skin, so I think it works out well. I don't know. I think it's better. I think the audio is a little bit better with that. I guess the earbuds that don't have the wire are a little less intrusive.
Yeah, I like those. Yeah, I'm a fan of the more clean look. It's more conversational. It seems like you're more relating. Sometimes, you talk to people like, I don't know, maybe it's a pet peeve, like my kids, right? I got teenagers. So, hey, got my earbuds in. Like, are you listening to me or T
Right.
Swift? Like, what's going on here? So
Right.
hard to say.
All right. So those are that's some good points. I hadn't really considered the wire. So that definitely is going to change the visual. So if you want to have that look, and I think that just general tips when you're interviewing, you want to dress professionally, and I mean one of my buddies, Sue Dave Menderata, I'm sure you've met him before. He
Oh, no,
always
Sue
talks
Dave's a good
about-
friend. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Sue Dave, he's chair of my department here. He always talks about when he was in the interview trail, he remembers somebody coming to an interview wearing white shoes that clearly had been used the day before to mow the lawn. And like, just with a suit, but like then these grassy, shoes. Just so Zoom, you don't have to worry about the pants or shoes at all, but look good from the waist up at least.
At least, yeah, yeah. Very good. Okay. So we've got that. We've got the connections. We've got the room. I really now the game breaker here. We're kind of like leading up to this, but the game breaker was when you did your talk, Ben. You made, I'm talking pristine eye contact, and it was so conversational. It's like you were leaning in with us, and then you would kind of think, and you would maybe ponder something, and then you would come back to it. And I just can't do that when I'm doing a talk, because I've got to look at this green little thing on my laptop machine. And if I look down to read you, because you do want to read other people, right? That's the emotional intelligence, is like reading the emotion of others, being aware of your emotions, and then reacting appropriately through that filter. So I can't look at this camera and then I can't look over at you, because they're like two different places and my eyes are going back and forth. But you did that in your talk, and I was like, how did he do this? The other thing you did is you had on the portrait mode. So your background was blurred, but you were crisp. And I'm like, mind blown, man. I got to figure out how to do this. So like I immediately reached out to you. I was like, Ben, teach me your tricks, man. This is awesome because you slayed that talk.
All right, I really appreciate it. So the trick is so first of all, for the background being out of focus, that the photography word is bokeh. It's like that blurry, shallow depth of field. You only really get that with a lens that has a fixed focal length. And so you can either have an SLR or a mirrorless camera. Even some of the newer iPhones apparently have fantastic, like a large aperture fixed, lenses. Some of the brand new iPhone 12s are.
But my
really
iPhone 5 is not going to do that, right?
No, it's going to be just like what I got right here. So everything is
Okay.
in focus, especially there's a lot of light. But if you switch to like an SLR or a mirrorless camera, you can then set up what I'm talking about here is the key is a teleprompter. And it sounds complicated, but basically what you have is the camera is looking through a piece of half mirrored glass, almost like a two-way mirror. And I can see my secondary mirror up here and have your face be right there in the shot while I'm looking into the camera. And teleprompters are not expensive. This is basically an iPad sitting inside of a teleprompter connected to my laptop. And I can move the zoom window up here and look into the shot. And I can show you that. You ready? You ready to see it?
I'm ready for it, man. Bring it to me.
All right, let's do it. So first of all, I'm going to switch to my nice camera here. So I've got my nice camera set up here. And I'm going to move. I'm down here on the laptop, looking down here on the laptop. I'm going to move this up. And I'm going to look at your face right here. So now I'm looking into your eyes while I speak.
Wow. That is a game changer. Just from my user interface looking at you, this is a completely different type of a reaction. And this, like you said, this warmth, it's inviting, you're engaged, you're involved, and the background is not distracting. It's more complimenting and you're like popping out of it. Yeah, it's just it's such a big difference.
Yeah, thank you. So and this is all the sort of the teleprompter, the setup that I've got here. Having a fixed focal length lens with a relatively wide aperture gives me more of a shallow depth of field, blurring my relatively busy brick background here. And do you have to, if you're doing an interview, do you have to look totally professional? I mean, every little bit counts. And when you're talking about the difference, so at our shop we've got 7 slots, and we interview typically about 100 people for those slots and have 700 applications. And these are average numbers. These are not like overwhelming. These are in Chattanooga, Tennessee, little old program, small program of emergency medicine. But that's just an example how, every little bit helps for your interviews and trying to get over that hump of, is this person approachable? Did they look professional? Is the video feed nice? And so maybe it'll make the difference when they're going to put together the rank list.
No, I think this just really pops. It stands out in a good way. Yeah. Not like the guy with the rainbow socks that nobody remembers, but this is what you want to be remembered by. Yeah.
That's right. Let me actually, if you could, I think I can share my screen. I'd like to share my screen and just show you a quick, just sort of example of how I put this together.
Awesome. Yeah. Walk me through it. Cause that's really where I'm kind of like, can I do this? Can I pull it off? I mean, I have an old SLR camera, but I don't know.
All right, so I just set up a super high-end graphic here for you to check out. So this is just an example. So I've got the camera, and then right in front of the camera, I have a piece of glass, which is a mirror on one side, and the camera can see straight through that to see me. So I'm looking straight through that piece of glass. And then right underneath that piece of glass, I have an iPad that's sitting horizontally that is reflecting off that glass, and I can see whatever's on that iPad. And I have this set up with Apple. You can set this up with Android or just about any tablet. You don't even have to have a tablet. You can use a phone or any kind of external display that you can set up with your computer. And actually, we can share some links. You can even build one of these just for a laptop. If you have an external camera, you can set it up so that all you do is you put your laptop inside of this thing, and then with a little external USB camera, you can look through the half silver glass. And now you'll be able to look straight through that into the camera. And so here's just, I built this. There's a couple of videos on YouTube on how to build one of these. I'm self-described maker. I like to work with my hands, and this is something I built out of basically some wooden shims, a couple of pieces of steel landscaping flags, and some foam board and tape. This is the base of it that I built. And this is right before I put the top on. I don't know if you can really see that. On the left picture, you can see how I've got that half silvered mirror at 45 degrees.
Yeah.
And I just kind of like braced it in there with a couple of pieces of foam board and hot glue. And this is three sides of the box put together. And then I put a top on it, and there it is, basically ready to go right there.
Where
Camera's
did you get
looking
the
through it.
mirror? How do you get pieces of mirror of various lengths?
So that mirror is available. It's a piece of acrylic that's half silvered. So it's a little bit floppy. So you have to make sure it's braced pretty flat. And that's like maybe $15 on Amazon.
Hmm.
Not that expensive. And this is like a 1 by 1 foot segment. If you
Yeah.
go try to buy a piece of actual teleprompter glass, they'll charge you like $200. Some high-end teleprompter glass that has a specific amount of silvering. This is one that's like, I don't know, I think it's like 50% silvered or something like that. It works good enough for the camera setup that I have here. So here's the camera looking through that half silver glass. And then I'm on the other side of that. And from my perspective, here's what I see. So as you see, I have my laptop on the bottom, and above that, I have my teleprompter, and it looks like another laptop up there, but that's just my iPad it's one of my kids' iPads actually, with the, the green protector. And then you can see it reflected onto that mirror. And I'm looking at that mirror while I'm speaking, which is pretty awesome.
So when you link these together, and maybe you're going to talk about this, if I'm getting ahead of me, just say, wait a second, I'll tell you later. But when you link them together, I guess you're doing the iPad just wirelessly, like Bluetoothing through with your laptop, and then the camera, how do you wire that in as your camera receiver? You might want to go through some of those, like on maybe Zoom or Teams or some of the more common things.
Yeah, for sure. So the iPad actually has set up something called Sidecar, and that's a new feature with the newest iPads. And if you have a Mac laptop that's compatible with it, I think anything since 2016, you can basically plug in your iPad with a USB, and it'll actually you can actually set it up as a secondary display. So that's how I have it set up right now. The other thing that you can do is, if on Android, same thing, you can connect with a laptop, just about any laptop with an Android tablet, and use it as a secondary display through USB. You can also do it through wireless, but it's a little bit more reliable connection through the USB connection.
Yeah, so you just go to like display preferences and make that an external display, just like you would an external display, make it another one, huh?
That's right. Now, there are a couple of like specifics about how you have to make sure that you're signed in on iCloud on both your iPad and your laptop. And it's all like written out on Apple's website, but it works pretty well and pretty seamlessly. I've been, sharing my display here for the past 2 hours and hasn't lost connection. Again,
Nice.
You can also do it wirelessly if you want. And then as far as the camera goes, so yeah, trying to get an SLR video feed into your laptop to share on Zoom is a little bit of a challenge. Some mirrorless cameras and SLRs, single lens reflex cameras that are digital, have what's called a clean USB out. And various manufacturers, I know Canon has released a piece of software that allows you to use your actual camera as a webcam. So you plug it in USB to your laptop, and then you select it. You run their driver, their Canon driver, and then you can select it on Zoom as an actual USB webcam, which is really nice. Nikon has released one as well for some of their SLRs. Various other manufacturers have that same sort of driver built in. The way I actually on mine though, so I have an older Nikon camera, and the way I set mine up was the HDMI. So I can get a clean HDMI signal out of my what's called my live view on my SLR. And so it's an HDMI cable that comes out of my camera, and I have a little HDMI capture card that goes to USB to connect to my laptop then. And so once I have that set up that way, I can then connect, I can then select the USB feed, the USB video feed in Zoom.
Gotcha. And you were saying you could also do a simple little, where do I have it? Yeah, I mean, you could do some kind of like little tripod and put your phone in there and put that behind the scenes, I guess. And that could be your thing as well, or your laptop or whatever you need, huh?
That's right. I mean, technically you could put your laptop, you could have the Zoom call on your phone and have that be your, camera that you're making the call with, have that be behind your teleprompter, have your iPad be inside the teleprompter so you're looking straight at somebody's face. That could certainly work. The other thing, if you don't mind having a small screen, if you use your phone and it has a relative, and you put it in portrait mode and put the, you know, the person's face up towards the top of the screen near the camera, it almost looks like you're looking into the camera. So you can totally forego the teleprompter setup completely. But it just sort of depends what your, you know, what your budget is and how nice you want it to look. With a laptop, you know, of course, almost all of the screens on the laptop are above the screen. And so if you want to stick with just the laptop, you don't have to worry with building a teleprompter or doing any of this teleprompter setup. You can actually just take your Zoom video feed and put it up way up to the top of the screen, so you're looking closer to the top of the screen. It can kind of closer simulate eye contact.
Yeah.
It's another simple free hack. And I talk about how, you know, of course I built this one, but on Amazon, you can go on there. If you're willing to spend a couple $100s, you can go on there and get an iPad, just search iPad teleprompter. And there's like 15 or 20 options that are about $200 or less. And they're reviewed on there. Again, I don't make any money on any of these. These are just options that you can do.
Yeah.
You know, when I remember when I interviewed for residency, I think I took out a loan and spent like $8,000 to travel, you know, around the country to look at spots. And so this is a pretty inexpensive interview season for medical students this year. Just the Zoom calls are effectively free. You don't have to worry about getting a hotel or anything like that. And, you know, spending a couple $100 up front for the interviews, I think actually would go a long way.
Okay. Very good. And so if people wanted to build their own and see some other things, you mentioned a few YouTube videos of some hackers out there like yourself, some engineers and things like that are out there doing it. So I'll put those links in the show notes and make sure people have access to that.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed building it. The hardest part was sourcing that half silver glass. The rest of it's just foam board and pieces of wood that I had laying around the house. And so getting that Amazon link on there as well would be, I think would be nice for those who want to go the inexpensive route. This teleprompter, I think overall, so overall, I think I spent maybe $20 putting together the teleprompter. I will say that to hold the teleprompter up, you also have to have it elevated at the level of the camera. And then the camera has to be elevated at the same level. So you'll have to have, you know, 4 PDRs instead of just 2, or however you want to set it up. But, you know, tripod makes it really easy. You can buy a tripod for, you know, like $15. These tripods are not very heavy, or these teleprompters are not very heavy. And so it'd be pretty simple to set them up on an inexpensive tripod.
All right. Well, guys, I'm going to make one of these. I'm going to try it out, Ben. It may not turn out as well as you have here, and I might be calling you for some consults, but I am definitely sold on this, and just needed to kind of hear about the AV from the, you know, teleprompter side, and then also the camera side, and how to get that software together. So I'm gonna definitely be working over this over the holidays and try it out. So Ben, something I've been wondering about is what do you think about these ring lights? So I got a ring light here for my birthday for my dad, and I've been kind of using it. So without the ring light, you know, there's some shadows, and I kind of set this up behind my laptop. I hear a lot of people talking about it, but you know, what do you think about the ring lights? Any opinions on these things?
Yeah, so ring lights, I guess they're classically described as, I think beauty disc is another word that people use for them. Exactly, yeah. And so you don't want to have a shadow on your face. And so having light that is diffuse and comes from all directions allows you to have that beautiful, youthful look. Ideally, if the light were coming from all directions, it would be a large ring light, like around your head, something that, like, from the perspective of the camera, is lights coming in from every direction.
Yeah, mine's like 10 centimeters, maybe. It's kind of small. Yeah.
So that's the thing. And I see that's a really common mistake. So people like either take their ring light, which is large, and put it far away, so it effectively becomes a point source of light, or they just have one that's just too small anyway. So there's no way you can get close enough. That ring light might work if it were like around the lens of a camera, like right in front of you.
We'll try that out. We'll see.
Now, yeah, that's closer. That's close. I think that could almost get you there. Now, well, I feel like we're looking through a tunnel now. I like it. So if you're going to buy one, the larger the disc, the better. But the larger discs are more expensive and they're more professional. I think a really simple free hack is just to do window light. So that's what I've got here. So I'm standing in front of a wall of windows here, and it gives me diffuse light. I do have shadow on one side of my face.
I
And on
kind
this
of
side of my
like a
face,
little bit of a shadow, to be honest. I think it just adds definition and
yeah,
depth to it. But
right, yeah.
I mean, you've seen the person, it's like half your face you can't see, and that's kind of excessive. But I like a little bit, and I think you've captured that.
Yeah, some character. I like having the light kind of come in from one angle, so you have a little bit of shadow on one side. Does give some depth to the the conversation. I
Yeah.
will say I did add on. I have a like you can't see it in the shot here, but I have a piece of foam board that I set up just right next to my body here, and that reflects some of the light back onto the shadow side of my
Okay.
face. Again, this is a piece of a dollar piece of foam board
Yeah.
from the Dollar Tree, and so just I think window light, if you can set up window light, that's really good. Never have light behind you. That's a simple thing. Always have the light in front of you. And window light's one of the simplest free things you can do.
Yeah.
Not sunlight, but window light. Light coming from the window. It could be sun, it could still be sunny outside. And I've got reflected off my driveway here, and then it's coming through my wall of windows here on my face. So if you're going to do a ring light, make sure it's big. Otherwise, you're just as good having a small, bulb in the corner. Don't
Yeah.
waste your money on a small ring light. I think that that's a common mistake. The other thing I will say is that if you wear glasses, that can
Mm,
sometimes the reflection can be pretty obvious and dramatic with a ring light.
good
And so
point.
the window lights, if you wear glasses, window light especially is the way you want to go. The ring light's coming from so many different directions that when the light coming off your reflected, lens, it's going to come from every direction. You're going to get some reflection from some part of your ring light. So it's just,
Gotcha.
you see that on TV all the time right now.
Yeah. What about the frequency of light? I think we get these. So here's a blue light that's got a little higher frequency, very low frequency. I look red and orange man bad. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So the frequency of light is going to be also affected by the color temperature that you have your camera set at. I will say that it's better to have one color temperature of light overall coming at your face. So right now, I turned off my fluorescent lights in here because if I had those on, I would have blue up here, and then like on the left side of my face, it'd be relatively warm. The light from the sun would be warm compared to that. So I'd be blue up here and orange over here. So the same color temperature generally is better. Not two different color temperature lights. I think if you go with the window light, just having one big like diffuse window light, it's free, it's easy. I think it's another thing you could do is if you have a porch and you don't have sunlight coming in right on your face, you could just go have your face is going to be facing the outside of the porch, and the backdrop would be part of your house. That would give you fantastic light on your face as well.
Yeah, you're just outside. You're at the risk of maybe a train coming by or an ambulance. Or
right, that's right. Or a bird landing on your shoulder. I don't know. It could be serene. I'm just, it's a suggestion. It's a suggestion.
Yeah, just thought.
That's right.
All right. Well, thanks. That's good advice.
All right.
So any other words you want to share with our students that are right now going through interviews? It's stressful, but you've been there both on side of an interviewee and also an interviewer as residency leaders. So what other pearls do you want to give them real quick?
Yeah. So I think that one of the biggest things is to kind of make conversation that is not about, medicine or emergency medicine. Try to have a conversation about something that you are passionate about. And the best interviews that I can remember with medical students who want to be, emergency physicians are the interviews where I had this conversation about something where we had some mutual sort of like common ground conversation, but they were very passionate about whatever they were talking about. And, everyone's got their own canned answer about why they want to do emergency medicine. Try not to make it canned because you're going to get asked that question. But, try to keep it not generic. How about describing a specific circumstance that you can remember that's formative and what made you personally decide to do emergency medicine? Don't give me, I like the variety of patients and, I just love all the different areas of medicine. And these are all like generic talking points. You can go on the SEM website and find, but it's not going to really play that well. It's just going to be, you'll just go like, you'll be in the noise of the other students. You need to rise above the noise and make yourself stand out by making your own values and interests shine.
Well, Ben, I think that's exactly kind of what you did today. I think this is a hack that will hopefully allow the students to shine in a good way, set themselves apart, and show their best foot forward. So we really appreciate you coming on the EMSED podcast today. Thank you for sharing your amazing hack and wisdom We appreciate that. So on behalf of my colleague, ER Dr. Nate, this is your eMed coach, Dr. Scott Weeder, signing off for another edition of the EM Stud podcast. If you'd like to learn more about our organization or our podcast, you can reach us at www.emstud.com. Also, special thanks to our parent organization, the Society of Academic Emergency Medicine, and so you can find them at sem.org. So on behalf of ER Dr. Nate, this is Scott Weeder saying be well, be safe, happy holidays, and rotate well, my friends.